Hi, everybody. I hope it's nice and warm wherever you are. It's not so warm where we are here in Ottawa. We've got, I think tonight it's going down to something like, feels like 34, minus 34. So, anyway, it'll be hopefully a nice warm night in the house. You don't want to go too far. I wish everyone well. We have a couple of questions I'd like to tie together, if I could. So I'll give it a try. Bronwyn Rees in Aylmer, used to be Aylmer, I think it's Gatineau now, asked the question about a phrase that we have used in the past, still use, some of us, and it's called perfect health record. And she wonders if I can speak about it again, and it might be helpful to do so. That phrase came up basically for a very good reason. The basic reason is attempting basically to be linked up, or at least in a state personally where you can perceive the energy around you all the time. And that energy literally is there within you and all around you. And it is the intensity or energy that you use, at least one aspect of it, is for the purpose of engaging with yourself in life the way you think you need to do that. However, in our normal natural worlds, we don't look at it that way. We just do whatever, whatever we do based on whatever we believe we need to do. And then we validate that because, to be honest, we are in love with how we function in our own way. And that is an act of love. Yes, I agree. It can be considered coarser, but it also can be considered self-protective. In other words, part of the survival structure that we have, but also part of the method that we use to engage with life and feel comforted or comfortable with how we think we need to be. 8 billion people do it they use this energy, but not exactly in a perfect rendition of each individual. In other words, everybody uses it differently. So this is, in essence, an engagement with love. From personality's perspective, it's how an individual believes they are functioning, even though they may not be functioning like that all the time. It just doesn't matter. They have this rendering of a self or of a belief that they are functioning in a certain way, and that has a sense of value for that, as we all know. However, becoming aware of a different level of loving, or let me put it this way, a level of energy that is used consistently in the act of loving that we relate to in terms of ourselves, is relating to another state of love, another state of engagement. Why do I call it that? Well, here's the reason why, at least from my perspective. From one perspective, one could say. The act of compassion for any individual or love for any individual by that flow is the willingness to have that individual use that flow for its own purposes. Okay, so far. And then, in terms of the purposes that a higher state may have, that individual begins to perceive honestly how they function. They were functioning honestly with respect to themselves, kind of reflexively before, but now you begin to see it and know, not that it's negative or positive or right or wrong or good or bad, that this is how we are using something. We're using that in that flow of love, one could say, for a purpose related to how you believe love should be expressed. A love of yourself, love for others. And if you are grumbly and harsh on others, it's a method of making you feel secure, love of yourself, when you're engaged with another and you assess from your point of view that they should be engaged with in a particular manner. This sounds complicated. It really isn't. In a kind of a way, that kind of universal loving is tremendous. And it's a concept that's really, for us, difficult to allow to be perceived because we're busy acting the way we believe we should act to render love unto ourselves, so to speak. So we're loving in a kind of a coarser way. But of no pun intended, of course, we do these things all the time. And if we didn't, it would be very awkward. It would be, we would just consider ourselves, we'd be judging ourselves all over the place. And we can even use it for judgment. So in a kind of a way, then we're judging whatever we come up with. Neither good or bad, right or wrong. It's just what we come up with. So therefore, our assessment is perceived to be of value, even if it's against ourselves. That's a kind of loving. We are trying to help ourselves be this way or that way. Or we get frustrated with ourselves and because we're not this way or that way. That's an act of loving to something, a rule, a history, a past. This is how you should be, and this is the way you are, and therefore you have to maintain that. Otherwise, no one will know you. People will know you anyway. But nonetheless, we have these particular ways of thinking. Perfect Health Record was a dialogue to the self relative to wishing that that higher state would come in to help us. So you would speak to yourself in the hope that no matter what it looked like, you would be helping you inside as well as outside to be more able to align with and engage with that higher state. Therefore, able to perceive it a little bit more than you could. And there are so many levels of that so-called higher state, because we just talked about that love, you, loving you as a level of engagement with a higher state, because you're using that state for the purpose of being what you consider of some value. And we all have all kinds of images that this may be true for. However, it was also in aid of an idea of becoming aware of that higher state as I said, 24/7, which means another method would be being aware above your head and behind you, being aware up the front, all the way up, pointing your hands at your brow, trying to stimulate an awareness beyond you, and then becoming aware not only of the front, but also of the back and above your head. Real important thing. The focus in front of the chest, behind you, above the head, passing and being aware behind the neck, behind the head, and above the head. Then coming down in here and extending your awareness outward, dropping your attention into the space in front of your chest. Stimulating areas off the body, relative to chakras off the body, so you could become more aware of that energy flowing in and through you from off the body and within the body. There is a linking there, kind of a broader perspective. The deeper you go and the broader you go. Big difficulties in these things, of course, because our system is set up, honestly, to handle living in these coarser planes. Many people, if they can get into an astral plane, they feel very superior to people who can't. If you can perceive that astral plane or the planes off the body, then if someone is close to you or around you in an astral level, you perceive them while you're sitting in your own chair. So you have a perception of a kind into the astral plane. Others may decide that they can manipulate people by being in that. This is coarser level thinking, of course, because you're still thinking like a personality would think. Here, all of you would like to have everybody else think exactly like you do. It doesn't work that way. People are meant to have ideas within themselves for the purpose of helping themselves to grow broader. And then eventually, these broader constructs or ideas come towards each other and link with each other. In other words, their similarities get stronger and stronger and stronger. On the coarser levels, there's always a clashing that goes on. It's even thought many frequencies, for example. Well, this touches on part of this business of the perfect health accord, and is that there are many frequencies in these higher states. I believe it doesn't matter what these frequencies are. Why? It's a good question. Because if I'm able to engage and perceive an individual who functions in 2 of these frequencies, and another who functions in 4 or 5, another who functions in 3 or 4, another in 5 or 6, just numbers, all of them are related to inner growth. Every single frequency starts at the coarser levels and works its level into an ability to be more spiritually inclined or more loving in inclination. This is hard for us to understand, that at some point the inclination is involved with enabling folks instead of competing with folks. In the meantime, we're learning about this stuff. And what we're trying to understand, that this concept of perfect health is not related to perfect health physically, emotionally, mentally necessarily. not that kind of thing. It's the ability to handle various frequencies internally for the purpose of a higher state being able to operate through that frequency that isn't focused on the personality, but is attaining kind of a balance, may perceive something is going on, but it's not focused on the individual getting its way with that frequency. This is hard for us to understand. And then that various frequencies, or one or another, could operate through that person, a person that had an ability to notice that frequency, but not necessarily use it for its own purposes. Not necessarily. Inadvertently, it may, because it's still living on these coarser planes. But especially when you're learning about this stuff, and learning about this stuff goes on for a while. Softer, more enabling frequency operates through that individual and touches another in a place where personalization cannot be helpful. But that loving can be helpful. So what are we doing this in aid of? It's the cultivation of a more universal understanding of how an individual personality or an individual period is and why she or he is here for. You're not here to be in the history books or another biblical engagement of some kind. That's why higher state individuals are no longer aligning with that particular premise. They needed to do that at one time. It was very important because we needed heroes to live up to. Some of us still do. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is to help others to be more, I don't know the words, more helpful in relationship to themselves and their growing. So that eventually an energy can operate through them that might be helpful to another. And nobody knows. The individual never gets to know that. They're just helped. And the individual who is there and engaging with life on more than one level knows it, but recognizes that if it puts itself out as kind of an important individual, it ends up stimulating that egotistical side of hers or his. And that is part of what happens in spiritual growth, so that there can be a movement towards a balance. It just doesn't, like that, happen overnight. It happens by living and engaging with life and being respectful to others and recognizing when you're not, and doing what you can to make a shift in that as you go along, and finding out you can't always do that. And recognizing that you are a human being on the planet Earth and in a coarser habitat. So you're attempting to learn to do a little bit better than you could before. That higher state is not judging you. In fact, it's trying to help you to see better. I'm not talking, I mean, just perceive you as you are with no negation, just an understanding that this is where you are. And maybe you can do something slightly different. Yeah, boy. And this one is very difficult to express because you will have both sides of the fence operating in you. Nobody does perfectly with this one. But it is helpful and a viable way to look at things. In other words, you can engage and feel that you're doing everything perfectly and you have a whole bunch of knowledge that you know has to be true and all of that. So what? Now, are you able to perceive that flow through you for 1 second, 10 seconds, a day, a day, a day, a day? It's really hard. So how about 10 seconds every day? Ah, good start. How about 20 seconds? How about a couple of hours without feeling important about yourself, without having to tell everybody in the world? That's not easy because you've been trained to tell everybody. That means that identity side of you, as you do this, is being stimulated more. It's what happens in us. This is not negative. This is called normal engagement with life. If we can allow ourselves to see, oh, geez, I'm normal, instead of I'm wonderful and blah, 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 and I'm, going on and on and on. If you do that and don't know it, get to find out a little bit. Be okay when you see it. Slow it down. Try to remember to be healthy, more and more healthy inside is to allow yourself to be aware of that energy in and around you as long as you can in a day. And I'm not saying 10 seconds. I said as long as you can. Some folks, you'll complain about it because it'll come in to the degree that your intensity is normally used to. And some of us are very intense. We've had to be functional, active. Then a little trick with that is just to talk to yourself and ask yourself to soften down. Easy does it, easy does it, easy does it. You're using that energy to soften down a bit. And others will say, I don't want to do that. I really want to do it the way I want to do it. Do it that way. But remember, the energy will come in relative to that way. And it's normal to have that happen. It's trying to show you so you can move towards being able to be helpful with higher states than you can handle coming in currently, or different frequencies. I once heard an individual talk who was quite capable for a few minutes about all of these frequencies relate to light, we would call it, because that's what we call it. It meaning the high frequency, the best frequency is white light. It's the way our mixed up way of, no offense to anybody, of looking at a prism in relationship to sunlight operating through it. And that makes sense to us. That light isn't perfectly white at all, but it doesn't matter. It just is a prism-oriented focus. There's nothing wrong with that. It gives us a clue as to the fact that there may be different frequencies coming out of a certain level of engagement with that sunlight. Heads in our direction, thank goodness. And it helps us to understand gradation. I would also say at this point that even if you were the most wonderful being and capable, tremendously capable, you are still growing. There's more. There's even more. It's my understanding. Let me just see if I've left anything out before I go to Toshi's. Like I said, I'm trying to link these two together. Pardon me. Yes, I didn't quite say it this way. I just made some notes, so just in case I forgot something. I said there's the perfect health record is trying to construct a personal system that can handle many frequencies of energy, and the purpose of which enables a higher state flow that can penetrate these coarser levels so that change can begin, not only in an individual, but in a species. It may be able to soften the coarser and enable the species to endure the more loving aspects of existence. And what I mean by that is that, for example, if you like to be a certain way, and you're the only one out of 25 people that you know that likes you when you are that way, you will protect you over the love of you, and the way you think you should be. You will protect you in a loving manner, that way that is uncomfortable for some others. This is normal. This is not a negative thing. This is how people engage all the time. And you know, in, for example, politics, religion, social engagement, different cultures, we do this kind of thing all the time. But when you're involved with these things, you don't think it's negative at all. You think it's, oh, that's the way we should be. You do the same thing with your personalities. And perfect health record is trying to get you to soften down the internal need and maybe broader thinking process. Maybe gentling the emotional reflexive response mechanism, or increasing it so you can know it's there. Because you use that love that comes in, or that energy that comes in, for the purpose of cultivating whatever it is you do as a personality. You can see that, another just aside, if a lot of energy comes in a softer manner that changes how you defend how you are, then it causes a conundrum, a difficulty with, it wants you to gently broaden out and see something slightly different. And at the same time, your natural, normal response is, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that because I'm busy using love to preserve the way I believe things should be. This makes it very difficult for us to anticipate being in a different way when we already believe we should be in a certain other way. And this goes along with ideas as well. It's not so simple. So understand that it's not so simple. And when you notice these things, if you move to defend them right away, you're not open enough to allow another idea to come in to broaden things out. And it's been going on for millennium, many. So it's not a negative thing. And people will not like this conversation, and I don't blame them at all. Okay, so I think I've talked about that pretty reasonably well. There are other things. The life map as well is and the setup for the life map: focus in front, behind you, above the head, down front, and trying to rotate the hands and do the pump, and being aware of that energy all the time, the best you can. The more you do it, the more you will tend to want to do it, because you're using energy to exactly do that. And it creates another habit. If you get to the point where the habit is getting strong enough for you to remember to do it, that's when difficulties start. Because you're used to using an abundance of energy for other things. And energy is being taken away from that area. And in our world, we see things negatively often. So you start thinking, well, you're bad because you did this and this. It's not real. It's not about being bad. That's not bad. It's how you were trained to be. So go slow. Be respectful of your engagement, your training. You don't have to agree with it, but you can be respectful. And you can attempt to understand it. This will show up all the time in your growing. And when it does, treat it with respect. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's still there. Okay, it's all right to be there. But you may not want to just continue it as much. As much is better to say than I no longer do it, because it's not true. It'll find a way of helping you to express yourself the same as you expressed yourself before, because you're pushing up against it in some kind of negative way. All of these things that we are there. But as your awareness becomes stronger, you can see it better. You have to remember, too, that you have strong wills, and they're maintenance wills. And they want to maintain how you believe you think you should be. And that kind of attention that you have given to yourself, and I've given to myself, and everybody's given to themselves, is profoundly strong, because it's been practiced in certain ways all along. So be okay with it. Just, you don't have to agree with it. So now, then you're having a dialogue with yourself in a more kindly way, a more respectful way, an attempt to be gentler. From time to time, it will not sound gentle. You don't have to agree with that either. Easy does it. None of us get this thing perfect, and I'll guarantee that that's true. And I've met a lot of very, let's say, able lecturers And they don't get it perfect either. But they are doing what they can. This one is from Toshi. Toshi, I'm trying to pull these things together if it makes any sense to you. Do we inherently know what we need to do to grow and be better? Perhaps this is the question that Ron wanted us to reflect upon when he asked us if we knew we should do something but didn't do it. Well, it's partly just that, and I think that that's a close rendering, and it might be of value to just not sort it out, just consider it. So you're not doing it to judge it or assess it. Anyway, the follow-up question would be, how do we bridge the gap between knowing we should do something and actually doing it? I'm asking for higher help here, and I would agree with you. I ask for higher help in there too, Toshi, as all of us should. If you think you don't need to, then don't. Eventually, you'll get to know that no matter how much willpower you have to terminate something from your perspective, you may believe you can until you've numbed yourself well enough not to be able to see where the next exit point is for doing what you did before. This is the nature of this structure that we have. It's not negative at all. It's there so we can see into it. It's like we're looking deeply into let's say, a circular structure that starts about as big as a dot when we're born, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, a big spiral. And here we are on the edge of the spiral, attempting to be in the center of it and watch these things and say something like, so this is how I got to where I am now. Wow, that's fascinating. That's amazing. But normally, we're just spiraling on the edge of the spiral, just letting it to get bigger and bigger and bigger until we move on out of this physical form. So Toshi says, I stepped back one step further in my mind and asked myself, what really is it that I should be doing? I was reminded of a story with Krishna and Arjuna. While I'm forgetting the absolute details, Krishna said that nobody loves me more than this person. Krishna says this, not talking to Arjuna. This person that he knew was constantly engaged with the love that was in himself flowing through for him to be no matter what he thought he wanted to be, he used that love to love Krishna. That's what he did. And to think of Krishna and to be with Krishna and to love him like he was right there. Arjuna said, Arjuna said, the warrior, said that this is impossible. He only meditates twice a day and even falls asleep at night because he is tired from his work all day. I meditate on your love at least 8 hours a day. Krishna said, no, you, Arjuna, may meditate on me 8 hours a day. And he did. But he meditates on me 24 hours a day, and his love never leaves me. Even while he labors all day at work and is falling asleep at night, his awareness is on that energy. He knows that energy around him to be Krishna, or the symbol, or the glowing um, flow of force that manifests as this being, as Krishna. You could say the same about Christ. And I don't want to get into that partly, but you could instead of just change the words. I would suggest that Christ would have known for sure the energy, where it was within another, how it was coming through, and what it was doing internally and how it was being used. And he was not negative about it. He was very positive about it. And his love never leaves me, even while he labors all day and is falling asleep at night. And that learning to be aware around you is a key in all of this. And it's not extra special out of this mouth. It's what's being honestly engaged with and talked about by many. All of these beings that I've talked about over the years that I've been fortunate enough to be allowed to notice, they are aware. They know the energy in them. 24 hours a day might be a little too strong. I don't know. I haven't been around them 24 hours a day, so I can't really tell. But even in our attempts to be aware and care with respect to that loving, to notice it, to be aware of it. One could say to be in love with it and still function here is a developmental process related to higher states. It ever increases. I'm going to make this statement. Don't anybody panic. It increases to the stage where you are not in charge of your growing, of your life. Fortunately for most of us, we haven't reached the stage where that can occur because we haven't reached the stage where we no longer relinquish our personalities' views of what has to be right versus wrong. The nature of our engagement on these coarser planes is we must survive these coarser planes. And we make up our minds based on how we have been trained to do so. And this is fundamentally how we survive, how we function, how we find people to love, how we engage with them, we relate to them. This becoming aware of that energy is cultivating the recognition of a love, primarily that we use every day to engage with life in the way we love to use it. And as steps into a deeper level or a higher state occur, we begin to notice loving. Some of you have already begun to notice that tears will roll out of your eyes when you're watching some silly movie. Not when you should be crying in it, but when somebody does something really wonderful for somebody else. That emotion is an aspect of love that occurs. Some people would think that that's really weak. Being kind to others might be seen as weak. Being respectful of others might be seen as weak. Not doing something traditionally the way you should do it may be seen as weak. But it's not real. It's culturally relevant in a traditional manner of some kind, no matter where it is and why it is, but it's not real. It's a judgment. It may affect your bank book, but what an opportunity you have if you're functional to engage with a higher state 24 hours a day and live life. Practice little by little. Little by little is a key, because you can soften that a bit, because you're paying attention to something other than constructed images of your own making. That's very difficult to do. I'm on Toshi's side here. You just ask for the highest, best, and do the best you possibly can with it. But recognize when you can't. Be okay with that. Start again. You haven't reached the multi-billionth time yet. Keep going. It's worth it. Let's see now. It's been mentioned that it doesn't necessarily matter what we are doing as a vocation and how we are living. We could be a shopkeeper, a bus tour guide, but the real work is in the energy, and I would agree with that, Tosh. Along these lines, what if we try to remember to focus around us during the day while living life as much as possible? And we've just been talking about that with Bronwyn's question. I'm not really sure if this advice given in an article that was online. The more I can at least contemplate being at one, then the more my autopilot and will help me to be in that particular place of oneness with the energy, or at least awareness of the energy, and then recognizing that that energy is in and around me, moves in, around me, and through me. There was another one I just bring up. I remember I used to also talk about, remember, not my will, but the highest will be done. People used to be apoplectic. Apoplectic?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's really hard to say that with much sincerity, unless you're really willing to think about the possibility that changes may occur that may not be comfortable with you. So sincerity is an interesting thing. Be sincere about your relationship with that flow. If you can attempt to try some of these exercises that we've been trying to do. You remember the story about a gentleman that used the balancing and found that it was quite profoundly powerful. He did that, and he found that it was powerful because it is. We usually use it as we're coming out of meditation, but you can use it as a tool to help you, as well as the pump, as well as the redirecting, as well as being focused above your head and behind you. as well as the focus through the chest, above the head, and out through the brow. I hope this helped a little bit. I didn't get to David's question. We'll do that next time. And thank you for those who have sent questions in, and we still need a few more. We try to go through as many as we can, and that means we get a little bit short. Please take care of yourselves and enjoy your spiritual growing. I wish you well. Take care. Bye for now.
यदि भवति शक्तः प्रभविति न चेदेवं देहि न खलु कुशलः स्पन्दे किमपि हरिहर गिरिजादिभिरपि प्रणतुं स्तोतुं कथमकृत पुण्यः प्रभवति अविद्यानाम् अन्तस्तिमिरं मिहिरं द्विपरगति जडानां चैतन्यस्तवकं मकरन्द श्रुतिझरी दरिद्राणां चिन्तामणि गुणनिधानं जन्मजलधौ निमग्नानां दंष्ट्रा मुररिपु वराहस्तं भवति भजन्ति त्वां धन्या पतिजनम् चिदानन्दलहरीम् अहमपि मणिपुरे उतवः स्थितं स्वाधिष्ठाने हृदि मरुतः आकाशभुवम् मनोऽपि भ्रूमध्ये सकलमपि धिक्त्वा कुलपथम् सहस्रारे पद्मे सह रहसि पश्यन् विहरसि चतुर्भिः श्रीकण्ठे शिवयुवतिभिः पञ्चभिरपि प्रभिन्नाभिः शम्भोः नवभिरपि प्रकृतिः चतुश्चत्वारिंशत् वसुदर विवेकाभिः साधु तव चरणपूर्णा परिणता त्वदीयं सौन्दर्यं सुदिनं गिरिकन्ये सुरभितुम् कवीन्द्राः कल्पन्ते तथापि विरिञ्चि प्रकृतयः यदा लोको सुख्यात् यान्ति मनसा तपोभिः दुष्प्रापाः गिरिशं सायुज्य चेत अमर वरपारातप रुचि भजन्ते ये सन्तः कतिचित् अरुणामि भवति विरिञ्चि प्रियस्य तरुणतर शृङ्गार लहरी गभीराभिः विदधति सतां रञ्जनमयी सवित्रीर्वाचा शशिमणि क्षीराभङ्गरुचिः पश्यन्या ज्ञायते त्वां सह जननी सञ्चिन्तयति यः सकलता भवति महतां रुचिभिः वचोभिः वाक्यैः वदनकमला मोद मधुर मुखं बिन्दुं कृत्वा कुचयुगम् अधस्तस्य तदधू पराधं ध्यायेत्यो परमहिषु देवः Shiva Shaktihi Vamaha Shiti Pratha Ravi Shitakiranah Smaro Hamsashchakram Tadanacham Paramaya Hararam Ahim Hriddhikabhi Visruddhihi Avasthanim Bhajitam Bhajanti Varanasti Tava Janam Namavatam सूते सह्यं तव नयनम् अर्कात्मकतया प्रियामा वानन्ते सृजति रजनी नायकतया द्वितीयाते दृष्टिः दरदरित इमां भुजरुचिः समाधत्ते सन्ध्यां दिवसनिशयोः अन्तरचरी विशाला कन्यायी स्फुटञ्जी अयोध्यानगरी कृपाधारा धारा किमपि मधुरा भोगवती भवन्ति दृष्टिस्ते बहुनगर विस्तारविजयम् नाम व्यवहरण योग्यम् विजयति कवीनां सन्दर्भस्तत्र मकरन्दैकरसिकम् कटाक्ष साक्षी करः कर्णमुच्चण्डा दृशाताना रसास्वाद असूया संसर्गा परिकलयन् अतितरजनी उत्सनपरा सरोषा गङ्गायां गिरिशा चरिते विस्मयवती हरादित्या भीता सरसिरुहा सौभाग्य जननी सखीषु स्मिराति जननी दृष्टिः सकरुणा इव पक्ष्मान् दधति पुरान्धे चित्तः प्रशमरसा विक्रावणपदे निमीलिते गोत्राधरपति पुरोक्तं सपरिते तवाकर्णाकृष्ण स्वरशर विरासं तरलता विभक्त व्यतिकरित नीराञ्जन विभाति त्वन्नेत्रम् वितरन्द ईशान दयिते पुनः स्रष्टुं देवा द्रुहिणा हरिरुद्रा उपरता सत्त्वं विद्यत्तमम् इति गुणानां त्रयमेव पशुपति पराधि हृदय दयामित्र मित्र अरुण धर श्याम रुचिभिः नद शूरो गंगा तपन कनये ध्रुवम् त्रयाणां तीर्थानां उपनयसि संवेद मनः नीषु ईशाख्य हृदयमुदयं याति जगति तवेत्याह सन्तो धरणीधर राजन्य त्वदुन्मेषां जातं जगदिदम् अशेषं प्रलयतः परित्रातुं शङ्के परिहितं विनीशां तं दिशः Chiram Jeevaneva Shapitam Pashupasha Vyatikaram Anandam Bhikhyam Rasayati Rasam Tvat Bhajanam शक्त्यायुक्तो यदि भवति शक्तः प्रभवितुम् न चेदेवं देवं न हरिकुशलः स्पन्दितुमपि हरिहर विरिञ्चादिभिरपि हनतुं स्तोतुं कथमकृत् पुण्यः प्रभवति अविद्यानाम् जडानां चैतन्यप्रभवं मकरन्दश्रुतिझरी दरिद्राणां चिन्तामणि गुणनितां जन्मजगत् निमग्नानां दंष्ट्रा मुररिपु वराहस्तं भवति वदन्यः अभयं वरदो दैवतः गणः त्वमेव दैवास्य प्रकटितः पराह्वेह्यं विनः भयात्त्रातुं दातुं हरमपि Aranye Rupaya Tavatu Sharanam Vivanikudu.
Now we'll just begin to do the balancing and grounding on your own. Good night, everybody.